despite all these conflicting beliefs, the way that they've been persecuted in the modern era, the persecutors weren't terribly interested in what a Jewish person's theology was. They really only cared about the identity. So they seemed to hold to an ethnic model of persecution. If you were ethnically Jewish, if your family was Jewish, then that made you grounds to be persecuted as a Jewish person. When we get into the modern period, about the 17th century for the Jewish people, after the medieval period, when, at least in Europe, you're not assigned different parts of the city to live in, and as nation-states begin to form, there are questions of how do you incorporate religious minorities into the nation-state, and you don't have such explicit discrimination laws. This is another crucial point for Jewish identity. You have some Jewish people who abandon their faith or don't hold traditional theological views, but are still regarded by others as Jews. Hey everyone, Scott here. One more brief word from our sponsors. But the 18th century, when American and French revolutions result in the slow and gradual emancipation of Jews from discriminatory and segregative laws and customs, although this move away from discrimination is very long, and many, I think with good reason, argue that it hasn't ended, you have the legal attainment of Jews as citizens with all the rights as Christians, and the freedom of individual Jews to pursue careers appropriate to their talents, and they're not restricted to specific professions. So there's a shift in view in the start of the modern period where there's the end of the doctrine of exile, where Jews saw themselves as a people waiting out centuries of woe in alien lands until the point when they could receive divine redemption and the Messiah would return to restore Israel. So Jewish modernity, for those who get into the fields of Jewish studies, they see this period as the end of a passive waiting for the Messiah to return and the beginning of an active pursuit of personal or national fulfillment on this earth, and preferably in one's own lifetime. Now, in the modern nation of Israel, how is it defined who's Jewish there? Israel's law of return states that a Jew is someone with a Jewish mother or someone who is converted to Judaism and is not a member of another religion. The Israeli chief rabbinate requires documents proving the Jewishness of one's mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother when applying for marriage. The office of the chief rabbi has underlined the basic principle that a child isn't recognized by the office of the chief rabbi, or the OCR, in other bodies as Jewish, unless his or her mother is Jewish, or they underwent a conversion recognized by that body. So, the simple definition of most Jews for self-identification is that a person is a Jewish person by birth or becomes one through religious conversion. But there are differences in interpretation when it comes to non-Orthodox Jewish denominations, including the questions of, should a person with only one Jewish parent be considered Jewish? Which conversion process should be considered valid? Can you remain a Jewish person after converting to another religion? How does being unaware of having Jewish parents affect your Jewish status? How is Jewish identity determined in different countries through the diaspora? How is a claim to Israeli citizenship adjudicated in the context of the basic laws of Israel? So at least according to Israel and its immigration laws and marriage laws, that's their definition. But this question, at least when we consider it historically, is considered very differently by many people over time. So Michael, I'm sorry, I don't have a clear answer here. But in complicated questions like this, I don't want to just give a simple stamp. I mean, some historians will come out more definitively on one side or the other. And I hope that these different approaches to this very big question can help you out here. Well, thank you so much for the question. I really enjoyed digging into this, and I love getting into areas that I haven't really come across much before. I get many topics for this podcast from you, the audience, and I am always happy to hear your suggestions and take them into consideration. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions for me, and I'll do my best to try to answer them. All right, that's today's episode. And that's the way it was. There you are, my terrible Walter Cronkite impression that you get thrown in as a bonus. As always, I want to thank the Knowlton's Rangers, especially our spy masters. Baron Fraza, Chris from Maine, Carl from Norway, Moondoggy from Ohio, Rick Knowlton, Vic and Irene, Mike from New York, Michelle, and Marlene. I'll explain what that is in a second. If you like the show and want to help it grow, there are 4 easy ways for you to do it. 1, like and subscribe to the show on the podcast player of your choice. This helps spread the word about the show. 2, join our Facebook group. Here we can keep the discussion going about new episodes, and you can talk about what you like and didn't like. And you can find this group if you just search for History Unplugged on Facebook. 3, we have an online store with t-shirts, phone covers, and other accessories featuring awesomely bad history puns that were crowdsourced by you, the audience. And you can find that if you go to teespring.com/stores/history-unplugged. That's teespring.com/stores/history-unplugged. 4, and this is really the best way to dive deep with History Unplugged, and that's to become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. If you know your American history, you know the Knowlton's Rangers were an elite spy and reconnaissance group in the American Revolutionary War, but it's also the name of the membership program of History Unplugged. You can join at 3 levels. If you join at the level of Scout, you can hear all the episodes of History Unplugged completely ad-free and get early access to new episodes, at least a week early. If you join at the Intelligence Officer level, you get special bonus episodes, like a 10-part series on the World War II hero Audie Murphy, a multi-part series called Ottoman Lives about different people in the Ottoman Empire, and a series called Rendezvous with Death that looks at biographical profiles of Americans who went to fight in World War I before America entered the war. The last level is Spy Master, where you get all that stuff, but you also get 3 hardcover history books: Forging a President, How the Wild West Created Teddy Roosevelt, Race to the Top of the World, Richard Byrd and the First Flight to the North Pole, and The Last Fighter Pilot, the true story of the final combat mission of World War II. Another bonus is you can choose a history topic for me to focus on for an entire episode that can go up to an hour, and I'll answer whatever question you have for me, and you get a shout out at the end of each episode. If you want to learn how to become a member of the Knowlton's Rangers, go to patreon.com/unplugged. That's patreon.com/unplugged. All right, well, that is all for my spiel. Thanks for listening to the History Unplugged podcast, from ancient Greece to the Cold War and everything else in between. See you next time.